Hi and welcome to the Social Enterprise Growth Accelerator with Sheffield Social Enterprise Network. I'm Jodie Marshall and I'm one of the specialist advisors on this programme. Today we're going to be looking at building your team and board of directors. So building a robust team for your social enterprise is a key part to its success, and the stronger your team and governance, the stronger you are as a social enterprise. So it is really important to get it right and to understand what it is you want from your board of directors and your wider team. With the right people in your corner, you could be really sustainable and see growth throughout time as well. So the essence of social enterprises then, social enterprises are really unique. They like to focus on helping the communities that they serve, but they also work as businesses. And this is a really important point to remember, that as a social enterprise, one of the things that you really want to get right is you want to get the trading element of what you're doing right, because that's what will lead to your sustainability. So when considering your team and your board of directors, keep that in mind. And remember that you may need people working alongside you with some business acumen if that is something that you feel you haven't got enough of. Social enterprises can be really flexible when building their team, so they and their board of directors. So it could include directors having shares in the company. It could include other organisations coming onto the board and having shares in the company also. It could include executive directors. So executive directors are directors that get paid, but it also could include voluntary directors. You could have a mixture of all of these things, or you could just have, say, a board of voluntary directors. So it's about thinking about what is right for your organisation. A key element that should run through all social enterprises is the importance of aligning team and the board with the values and goals of your organisation. So you want people that really get who you are and what you do. That's really important. So when building your team, one of the things that I really suggest you think about is, who is your tribe? So I call tribe the group of people that are your biggest cheerleaders, that want to support you, that want to see you succeed. And this is, try and think beyond family for this, because it's really easy to say, oh, my family are. Think beyond family. So who are the colleagues that you've worked with that totally want to see you supported and see you achieve your goals? Think about who those people are and start to bring those people into your circle. So start to spend time with them, start to share your vision with them. Within this period as well, you might decide to do a skills audit. So whilst you're thinking about who you want as part of your team, on your board of directors, or maybe working for you, one of the key things to do is do a skills audit. So assess what skills you have and identify key roles and skills that you're missing. Now, the smaller you are, the easier this tends to be, because you will need most things. But as you grow, this might get a little bit more harder. It might get a little bit more difficult to do, but it's a regular thing that you should be doing anyway within your organisation. So it's a really good practice to do it yearly. But to start with, if it's just you and one other person or a couple of other people running your social enterprise, then think about what it is that you guys are missing. So where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, and what are you missing? And also think about what you do and don't want to do, because there might be things that you can do, but actually you might not want to do them, because it might mean you're doing more operational work than you want to do. So really think about what that looks like as well, because that's a really good time to do it and to acknowledge what jobs and job roles there might be that you need to be starting to build. Consider diversity and inclusivity as a part of this process as well. So is it really important to have lived experience on your board? Do you want lived experience in your organisation? It's a really good idea to think about that and to maybe find a way of getting lived experience in there, and make sure that you're reaching communities that maybe you wouldn't otherwise reach. If you're serving a specific community, then how do you involve that community into your decision making processes, and in maybe even into working with you and for you? So that's a really important one to think about, and it's one that funders are really keen to see happening at the moment. Before you bring people on board, think about what a successful board or team would look like for your social enterprise. So where are you now, and where do you want to be in a year, 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years? And what would that look like if you had a successful board of directors and a successful working team? What would that look like? And that can really help you then to plan some milestones in, and to make decisions on how many people you have on the board and how quickly that grows with you. Okay. So recruitment strategies then. So different recruitment strategies that you could think about, and the things that you might want to consider when you're recruiting. So let's focus. So there's a focus on attracting individuals passionate about your values and mission, and that's really important. So there really needs to be that focus there. And they really need to get your values and your mission. Otherwise, they're just not going to align with your organisation, and you're going to have to re-recruit, and you'll just find that you'll have issues with them along the way. So when thinking about ethical practices, be transparent, emphasize values and mission, and promote diversity and inclusivity within all of your recruitment processes that you have, within any advertising you put out there, within any handbooks that you create, anything like that. Community partnerships, these are a really good way to tap into networks. So collaborate with other organisations, tap into networks, and engage with local initiatives. There's plenty of networks out there in the Sheffield area for you to tap into. Voluntary Action Sheffield is a really good way of engaging with wider networks of people that work in the voluntary community and social enterprise sector. Sheffield Social Enterprise Network has a newsletter that you can use, and they have a really good group of social enterprises around them as well that they could be promoting any opportunities to. So it's really a good idea to work with those sorts of organisations to get the word out there that you're recruiting. Online presence, so make sure that your website is reasonably up to date and that your social media platforms are being used, and use those to showcase your culture and impact, and advertise opportunities online. When people apply for jobs, they will go and do their research, and if they can't find you online, they're probably going to be less likely to apply to work with you or to understand what it is you do. And one of the best ways of making sure you're getting the right people applying for any roles, voluntary or paid, that you have, is to really be clear on who you are as an organisation and what you're looking for. And you can do that through your online presence. So if you're not using your social media platforms, start using them more and get that website reasonably up to date. Network then, so get attending events. Sheffield Social Enterprise Network run lots of events that you can attend. There are other events like the Sheffield Chamber events. So it is worth going out there and networking with those connections, connecting with passionate professionals to promote the organisation. You might connect with somebody who you think has nothing to do with your organisation in terms of their professional role, but actually they may be a CEO of a corporate organisation and suddenly decide, well, they want to give back to their community, and suddenly they want to be on your board of directors. So it is still a really good idea to get into those networks with those business people and talk about what it is you're doing and your values and your passion and what you want to achieve, because they could be your potential board of directors. Think about referrals as well. So encourage your team or your colleagues around you to send you referrals, to talk about the work that you're doing through word of mouth, and use different networks for referrals as well. So again, Sheffield Social Enterprise Network, Voluntary Action Sheffield, and the other action groups in the voluntary action groups in the area as well could support with that. Internships are a really good way of bringing people to work with you in your organisation, and to make sure also that you're giving opportunities to graduates and supporting them with their own work development. So both of the universities in Sheffield offer internships for their graduates, and they both have really good programmes for businesses to tap into. So it's definitely worth having a look at those, and they're a really good way of bringing in new talent into the sector as well. And often you can often get students to do projects for you, which once they've graduated, they might then come back to you and ask for further work. And, of course, these students could also be on your board of directors. So there are options there for you through using the universities to support with internships and things. And then the final one is mission-driven platforms. So think about specialised job boards, targeting individuals with aligned values. So Voluntary Action Sheffield has a job board. Barnsley Voluntary Action has a job board. So have a think about getting any opportunities onto there, even if they're voluntary, to shout about what you're recruiting for and get these places supporting that as well. And it's usually free to put your job applications and things onto there. So team development and training then. So this is a really important one to think about when we're talking about our board. So ongoing professional training and development is important for your whole team, including your board of directors. Mentoring programs are a great way for your board of directors and management to feel supported when they are new to a role. And it's also a really good way of updating knowledge as well, which again is really important. So maybe having training courses that are regularly about updating knowledge around the areas that you're working in. Things like safeguarding, things like health and safety, first aid, all of that sort of stuff. All staff and board members should have an induction, so it doesn't have to be complicated, but it's a good idea to develop that in the early days, and then you can add to it as you go along and as you grow. So what is that induction process? What would that look like? Share how investing in your team contributes to long-term success. So remind people that you want to invest in your team, and that does contribute to a long-term success as an organisation, and you want any team you create to invest in each other as well. So that's a really important thing for social enterprises, I think, and a really good way to make sure that you're each checking in with each other's well-being and mental health. Keep a record of skills and training for all of the team. This is just really good practice and is useful when you're writing contracts, going for tenders and things like that, and they're asking you for CVs and things. So what's the role of a board of directors then? Well, a role of a board of directors is to make sure that the organisation is governed appropriately and in line with your articles memorandum financially. The directors are responsible for strategy and accountability. They're not always operational. They often are as well when it's a smaller organisation. But your goal is that you want to get it to the point where your directors are not operational, they are strategic. And we would say they sit on the organisation rather than in the organisation. So you might use your board of directors as advisors. So if you're a founder, you might feel like you need some people that really get it around you, people that have been there, done it, and actually what you want is their advice and their support and accountability. Or you might have executive directors. So you might have directors that do initially do some operational work and they get paid for that, and they get paid for managing the company. So there's lots of ways that you can create your board. It's about thinking about what is right for you and your organisation. And again, like I've said before, there could be shareholders which may change their input into operations as well. And it's also really important to have a diverse board with varied expertise, and ideally from a wide range of areas that maybe you're working in, or maybe from the communities that you're working in as well. So how do you select your board members then? So again, do a skills audit before recruiting. So we've talked about this, and that will help you to decide what skills you want to be covered. And if you're looking for any specific skills, such as someone who's good at finances or someone who's good at project management, so have a think about what that's going to look like. Be specific in what qualities you want from your board. So do you need them to have lots of input and practical support in the early stages? Or do you need them to be supportive of you? Encourage those with a passion for social impact to apply and join your board. So this is where the networking is really useful. As you've got recruitment out there, you can kind of point people towards the fact that you're looking for board members, and maybe they'd like to apply if you feel like they're socially they're really keen for social impact and social awareness. Create a formal process for when you are recruiting your board of directors and help with selecting skills and qualities. So this is a really good way of helping you to see what their skills are, what their qualities are. Ask for their CVs, and maybe create a form for them to complete online that you can then check, kind of use a checklist for, and make sure that they're actually giving you what you need, and that you're not just taking anybody that's applying on that might not be right for you. You might use case studies, and you might ask other directors to share about their experiences to help others understand the responsibilities involved. So this is where social media can be really helpful for this, and you could do case studies on your directors on your social media platforms. You could interview them, you could do a photo with a little bit of a blurb about them, but it helps people to see the sorts of people that are already working with you and supporting you. And then be clear on how many times a month or a year you meet as a board. So people might be less inclined to apply if they think it's going to take up a lot of their time. So be really clear on what your expectations are around that and the time that it is going to take, so that they can see that from day one. And then you're more likely that they will be then attending meetings and turning up and things like that for voting issues. Okay, so collaboration and communication then. So this is really important when building a team, and it's key to keeping your team involved, whether that's your staff team or whether it's your board of directors. Those supporting and working with you will want to be kept up to date. So even your board of directors, they might not be in the day-to-day work, but they will want to be kept up to date because their name is still legally associated with the company. They are registered on Companies House as being a director. So, they have a legal requirement, and they will want to know what's happening, and that's really important because if there are ever any issues, your directors absolutely need to know what's happening. So your stakeholders, such as your board, will want to know what's happening as they're the ones being held to account legally. So you need to remember that it's not a massive amount of money. The liability is not a lot. It's usually around £1, but their name is still on the company legally. So they still have a legal obligation. And that is really important to remember because I often see in this sector that people forget that, and boards of directors maybe don't take their role as seriously as they should do. They don't invest in the governance and the strategy properly, and so often the smaller organisations will not succeed because the board of directors have not really got to grips with their what it is that their roles are, and this is where governance training can really help. So having some support to really understand what it is that the board of directors are supposed to be doing. Having regular time together with your staff team and board is really important as you grow the company and also for those working with you. So again, bringing your board of directors with your staff team together. It doesn't have to be every week, every month. It can be quarterly, it can be yearly. But actually having the opportunity for your staff team to meet your directors and connect with them is really key, and it really helps with keeping everything on one page and preventing any fractions between staff and governance. So keep that in mind. It's a healthy thing to do, and it doesn't have to be formal. You could do something social together. So you could do something at Christmas. Maybe you do some group training and you invite the directors to that as well. So there's lots of ways that you can do that, but it's really important to do it. So hopefully by building a team and being on the same page, you will have a stronger impact on achieving your social objectives, and hopefully this whistle-stop tour on selecting your team and your board of directors has been helpful. Hopefully it's given you some things to think about. This is a process, so it's not something that will take you 5 minutes to do. It's a process that you'll want to consider, that you'll want to think about, and that you'll probably want to talk through with somebody. So you can do that with one of the specialist advisors on this program. So do get in touch and do make sure that you kind of think about what it is you want from the advisors. But this is something that we can definitely help you with and talk through with you and support you with, and make sure that you're getting right from day one. So keep that in mind, and hopefully this has been really helpful, and hopefully we look forward to seeing you further.